Happy Hump Day.
It's Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
It's okay.
I'm just saying. I get happy on Cinco de Mayo.
I don't know. That's.
I get happy.
What is the purpose of the holiday?
For me to eat quesadillas and tacos and fajitas.
Did you?
No, I haven't. I have not eaten. Let's start the show.
No, I mean, I want to talk to you. Want to get that, give you a chance to get some things off your chest.
I have nothing to get off my chest.
You said Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, well, no, I was just saying.
I just want to say, question: do you think that they is celebrating Black History in February?
That's not my business. I don't care what.
No, I'm just asking a question.
I have no clue. It's not my business.
Okay.
I mind the business opinion.
I don't think they do.
Well, I mean, maybe they don't.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I can't eat tacos and quesadillas.
Okay. All right.
Just because.
All right. Listen. Okay. All right. I ain't signing up for that school.
Okay.
But what's going on, man? Loving Business on Lock Podcast. I am the franchise Jay Claxton, and this is Dr. Cassandra Vaughn.
Thanks for giving my government.
my name is James.
Yeah, but you didn't say this is James Claxton. You said this is Jay Claxton.
This is James Claxton. How about that?
Okay.
David, to be exact. How about that? How about that?
Listen, I'm excited.
You want me to give him your middle name?
I don't care. It's April.
Okay.
It's April.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
I love my middle name.
Okay.
I love everything about it. Listen, I am excited today. So we've done so much in the last 24 hours that it's crazy. Thank you. Shout out to Jeff Fox. I had an amazing time on his show today.
Right. It was a good time.
It was.
It was a good time.
I had to tell the truth.
Okay. That's what you call it.
Had to tell the truth. And tell people.
And
tell people how it went down.
No, listen, if that's what you call it.
So listen.
I'm listening.
Our guest, we're going to bring him in. Our guest is amazing. And then, you know how I did a pre-talk before we get on?
Mm-hmm.
I found out, the guest is like family to me.
Right, yeah.
Come on now.
I overheard that.
I feel important.
I
feel important.
I wasn't trying to ear hustle, but I
feel important.
I did overhear that.
I know people.
I
know some people.
Okay. So
in case anybody's been under the rock, is Pastor Dwight Buckner. He, he's going to be on Married at First Sight, but we're not going to talk about that because he is way more incredible things than that.
Okay, Pastor, what's up, man? How you
doing?
Hey. Hello to the wonderful couple. Thank you guys for having me on tonight. How are you guys?
We're great.
Absolutely wonderful. I had a great workout just a few minutes ago. I hit the sauna.
Amen.
Great workout. I feel good. I'm good. I'm good.
Hey, man, that workout will relieve stress.
It is so therapeutic. That is my therapy.
Amen.
Did you know that's my new cousin?
I overheard.
It's my new cousin.
Oh, I overheard that you got a new cousin.
I got a new cousin.
Yeah. Pastor, are you good with your new cousin? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I told her I feel like we family, So listen, I'm good with my new cousins.
Right. So Pastor, real quick before we get started, because I know that this beautiful young lady to the left of me, your new cousin, has a lot to go over with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
I want to say something. I want to talk to you about something. I want to ask you a question, right? I'm not sure if you watch some of our podcasts or any of that and kind of watch what we do, watch what I do. But I've really been trying to tell Dr. Cassandra Vaughn that I should be.
Oh no!
We can't both talk at the same time. We can't both talk at the same time.
Oh.
That I feel like that I should be a pastor. Look, I'm telling you, Pastor, I got a lot to get off my chest, and I think the food would be good because I've dealt with some things, and the beautiful part about that is, it's beautiful to watch something come full circle.
Dwight, don't jump in this red.
No, listen.
Don't jump in that red.
Full circle. I am such a better man. a better mate,
Right.
a better father, a better friend
Right.
than I ever been. And I was a pretty good guy.
So you know
Okay.
what I'll say this. I'm not no, but you don't know what I'm gonna say.
Okay, all right.
So what I was gonna say is stop. What I was gonna say is let's listen to the pastor's story because he talks about how he fought
Okay.
ministry.
Okay. All right.
And he's 7 generations.
Okay. All right. Because she don't want me to be a pastor. Pastor. She don't want me. She's a hater.
I'm not a hater. I'm a PK.
She's a hater of me.
I'm a PK. I'm not a hater.
So I just wanted to ask your thoughts, Pastor, before we get into all the stuff you got. I just wanted to ask, do it look like I could be, or have you the homework that you've seen? Does it look like I could minister to some people I'm talking to?
Let's learn about him. Let's learn about him. Let's
asking
do that.
a question.
Okay,
Pastor, real quick.
You look like a pastor. You look like a. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna jump out of it. I'm gonna just say that.
I tell you,
you're not my cousin no more.
Ain't up on that pulpit.
So
don't throw me to the side that fast.
So you have amazing work. You mentor kids. You're a barber, reality TV, pastor, father. Just a all around great person is, what I've seen. And I just, one thing that impressed me so much was you telling the story about how as you're cutting hair, the boys don't even know that you're praying for them.
Right. Yeah, I've made it a habit. I've been a business owner for 11 years, and I just kind of made it a habit to when a lot of the young guys come in and sit in my chair, a lot of them that are regulars know I'm a pastor, but many that don't, while I'm cutting their hair, I just pray over them. I'm constantly putting my hands on their head. But what they don't know is that I've been interceding for a lot of them and praying for them while they're sitting in the sitting in the chair, and literally praying over their minds, their spirits, that they would make the right decisions. And that's one of the blessings, I think, for me. My first pastorate was my business, learning how to manage, learning how to care for people, learning how to pray with them, learning how to help them at that level prepared me for where God has taken me. But I do that a lot to the young guys that come in there and pray for them.
Yeah. Like that to me, especially with what's going on in society, what's going on, especially here in Atlanta and just all across the country. And you're from Minnesota, correct? Yep.
Originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been in Georgia for almost 20 years now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Are you a Vikings fan? I know that's
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Vikings to the core. Yeah.
So what are you going to do about the quarterback situation?
I don't like the quarterback. I never have liked the quarterback. I think we need a replacement quarterback, but I'm still a Vikings fan.
Okay. All right. And something else I wanted to ask is by you cutting hair, having a shop, having a business, you being a pastor, how do you deal with, because that barbershop conversation is a whole totally different conversation. And what we talk about in the barbershop, I mean, it gets pretty explicit. Can really, the language can get pretty vulgar. Like, how do you navigate, how do you deal with that?
That's a great question. Since I've had the shop for 11 years, I've learned how to navigate in and out of it, how to, I've become numb a little bit to some of the conversations. I don't let them necessarily affect me. I know the conversations they have. I hear the conversations they have. And if they ask me for advice, I'm there. When I first opened up the shop, I was really, really, really strict. I said, well, you can't say that here. You can. And I had to kind of adjust my approach. I had to let the guys talk and hear what they're saying, and then kind of jump in there if they ask me. They know what I stand for. They know who I am. They're not to the point where they're offensive. They'll apologize if they say a word that they shouldn't have said, some of our choice words, and so I respect that. But it's the balance with the shop and the church, I think, is the perfect balance, because when we look at even Jesus, he was out there with all different types of personalities, different type of people, and he was able to relate to all people. And so the barbershop for me is allowing me to keep that common touch.
Okay.
And so I listen to the conversations, I give them advice, and I'll back out. A lot of them may bump their head and come to me later and says, you know what, I should have listened to you. But my job is just to provide an opportunity for other young guys to come in and to cut. And one of the biggest ministry lessons that we can teach is not even so much what we say, it's our lifestyle, because they constantly look at my life, how I talk, how I carry myself. And so they're looking at that. And so if I can just remain consistent in what I do, I know that'll speak volumes louder than actually conversation sometimes.
Right. You know, it's funny because I think that we are, and I tell Cassandra this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know as men. We don't know certain things because we kind of like taught and we're celebrated amongst our peers. All of the wrong stuff, the goofy stuff, the stuff that we should not do. I mean,
Yeah.
before getting into this relationship with Cassandra,
Mm-hmm.
I had some lessons before which
Sure.
got me to this point because amongst my peers it was, well, you got all the girls and blah blah blah, you got all the chicks and you the man and blah,
Sure.
and so you are celebrated amongst your peers
Right.
to have all of these women, and so you automatically think that's how you're supposed to move.
Absolutely. That's right.
You lose, and then sometimes for some guys the light bulb never comes on.
Right. Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And then finally the light bulb comes on. It's like, man, I lost a bunch of good people because I'm thinking that I was supposed to have 3, 4, 5 women. I thought I was supposed to dibble and dabble and this and that. And we didn't,
Right.
like we got to do a better job of
Absolutely.
relaying that message.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you. I'm in total agreement with you. Even with me growing up, that was a big thing among my peers and men. How many people could you date or talk to at the same time, and even physically lay with? It wasn't until I got older and began to kind of submit my life to God where I realized that it was really for me a sense of insecurity, having to feel a sense that people need me or want me, and never wanting to be by yourself. And I always got to say I'm with this person or that person wants me. And then, as you get older and matriculate through life, you begin to realize, hey, that was just my flesh talking, insecurity. That was some of me not knowing who I was. One thing I'm thankful for is that God, I learned early. So by the time I got probably about 23, I was really slowing down then, because I said, hey, if I continue this route, I'm going down a downward spiral. It's only by the grace of God that He has kept me this far. I did what some of them did, but God kept me, and that's how I learned a lot of my lessons. But we've got to do a better job at telling, particularly young men, that it isn't cool to have multiple partners. It isn't cool because what you do when you're young, potentially you can make a decision when you're young and spend the rest of your life regretting the decisions that you made. And if there are more people like ourselves who can minister to people or speak to them, say, hey, don't make those type of mistakes, then we could potentially be saving a lot of people's lives.
Right.
Pastor, would you say that, and the only reason why I'm asking this question is because recently I heard this in an interview that someone did, and they said that when it comes to a guy needing multiple partners, that it's about his integrity, and that he doesn't have good integrity, because if he did, he would be with that person. And then they went on to say it's also about commitment. What type of commitment does that man have with you?
Right. I think in a case like that, we've seen it several times, and we still even see it. I think it really boils down to, is instability and a lack of commitment. And so there are some men out there that would have multiple partners and feel like, hey, I'm stable with these two. But it's really them wanting to feel a sense of self-worth. Even if we went back into their pedigree, their genealogy, or how they were raised, daddy might have been a player. Brothers might have been like that. And so it might have just been natural for them to have multiple people. But one thing that is significant, particularly for men, even in this generation that are growing up, is it is imperative that that men like myself and Jay impart into them the significance of commitment, the significance of remaining stable, making your yes be yes, your no be no. And one thing in particular that we all know that women look for is they look for security and trust. And so when a man can demonstrate that, he's found worthy for somebody to for a woman to date. But we've really got to get to the issue of why do they feel like they need multiple partners? And I think a lot of it boils down to is insecurity and this whole man syndrome, feeling like, hey, if I got two or three women, I'm in the club, or I'm above average, or people want me. When reality is it's a sense of insecurity, and I think many of them might be suffering from love deprivation, suffering from wanting somebody to cherish them or to hug them or to love on them, and so they reach out to that particular lane.
Which is interesting that you said that, and you talked about the things that women need. So you have a new book coming out called Five Things Every Man Needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about those 5 things.
Okay, yeah, well, let me just say this. I'm all for help books and books that encourage all of us, but I particularly thought that there's stuff out there for men, but not a whole lot of stuff. Men don't really have a whole lot of platforms that we can be open and transparent, where we can literally cry and hug another man, and no funny stuff, just shaking hands and say, hey, listen, this is who I am. I'm opening up. I've been through it. And so what inspired me to write the book was, I said, hey, there are some essential things that men need. A few of those things I will mention tonight is one of them is support. I believe that if a man has the right support system, he'll build you a house. If a man has the right support system, he'll go above and beyond to do whatever he needs to do. If a man, and I'm not even talking so much about even financially, if you tell a man, I appreciate the way you carried the groceries in, I appreciate the way you swept up the kitchen floor, I appreciate the way you cut the grass, that type of stuff is support. That type of stuff will make a man do whatever you need him to do. One thing that men love to do, especially when you support them, is they love to show you that I am the man that you are encouraging. If you continue to uplift a man, he'll go far for you. Support is major, extremely major. Yeah.
Right. I agree. I never forget. I'm really transparent, and I think that's what is about the transparency. So, ex-wife. My ex-wife was not my biggest supporter,
Okay.
And I always felt like your mate should be your biggest supporter, your biggest cheerleader. And that didn't happen. Now, granted, I probably still would have did some of the stuff that I did because, again, like I said, I thought that this is what we were supposed to do as men, and that's what I celebrated amongst my peers, was to have a bunch of different women. But I felt like outside sources celebrated me more than the person inside, and we don't have that problem, you know what I mean?
Right.
But so just to kind of piggyback on what you said about support, I understand that.
Yes. And to even add to that, when you felt like most support was coming from the outside, another key thing that I mentioned in the book is that every man needs a safe place. They want a place by where they can lay their head down at peace. If a man feels like he's coming home to a hostile or chaotic environment, he'll drive past the house, come back home when things calm down to lay his head in peace. Men are looking for a place by where they can literally open up, be transparent. But that safe place is essential. One of the things that we recognize in scripture when Samson laid his head on Delilah's lap, it wasn't necessarily that she was the one, she was not the one. But in the midst of everything that he was dealing with, Samson laid his head down, which he thought was a safe place. It wasn't a safe place, but that's what he was looking for. And so I think a lot of men are extremely significant in looking for a safe place by where they can be themselves. They want to be in an environment where they feel safe and comfortable. Contrary to what you teach, yes, men are protectors. Yes, men are providers, but men also look for safe places themselves. This is why you have man caves and huddles, stuff like that. Yeah.
So as what advice would you give to women, to our female audience who are listening about creating a safe place?
In terms of their mate, I would say just making sure that even if you have a disagreement with one another, or even if you guys are at odds or you're not talking, to make sure that, and it's equal on both halves, but to make sure that when it is time for conversation, that when you want him to sit down and talk to him about some very imperative things that are bothering you, that it's an environment by where you are approaching him with, I would say, a very soft, mild tone, a place by where he can receive it. And a lot of times, we've heard this several times, it is not what you say, but how you say it. That plays right into the safe place. That plays right into, hey, you might say, hey, I got to tell Jay something, and it might be frustrating. You might be angry. You might be, but I'm sure you've had to wait until times where you feel like, hey, this is the correct time to address that when things have calmed down and it's safer to do so.
Yeah, we really talk about that. It's funny that we're having a conversation, a lot of topics, because we dealt with a lot of these topics. She knows that regardless of if she's right or not, if the approach is attacking, I'm going to defend, and I'm going to come back as, now I'm going to be aggressive as well.
Yes,
because you're giving me aggression. So your whole thought process is to defend, defend and not let anyone attack you. You want to attack back. So this young lady she will really wait and pick her spots. And we're in the car. We may be driving back and forth from, Atlanta to Baltimore, and we on 85 and somewhere on 85 around South Carolina, North Carolina. North Carolina, long state. I mean, I know. That ride is one of the longest states in that ride.
Right.
Let me tell you something. And then I was saying before, I can't escape it. I'm in the car. I'm driving.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
It really is. She's done her homework, and I think that's why this platform is so great, because we ain't perfect by a long shot, but we are living proof of us trying to figure it out. And we love having guests like you that can really give somebody who was watching this some food, because that's what it's really about. It's about giving the food back.
Absolutely, and what you guys have learned how to master is grace for one another. You've learned each other's temperaments. So you've learned that I know Cassandra could be this way and Jay could be that way. And so what you learned,
Cassandra, she tapping she ready to get you. She hate Cassandra.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Pastor. Because you was in the zone, but look, I know she hate Cassandra. So Cassandra or Cass or Cat, I'm telling you, look, I'm fine. Come out of here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have learned. I'm sorry. You've learned Cass's temperament, and you've learned what not to say, and she's learned what not to say with you. And so within that, both of you guys have learned how to approach each other at a very safe level, by where both of you would understand each other. One thing that I had to learn in relationships, particularly before I got married, was I had to learn how to control my temper. Most of that happens, of course, when we're young, we're on fire, we're ready to do all kind of stuff. We flip off our body handle. But the older I got, I realized I can't approach things attacking all the time. And the best way to get somebody to listen to you, of course, is not by attacking them. It's by, I believe the Bible says, a soft answer turns away wrath. And we can even take it out of a relationship context, even when I deal with some of the young men within my community. This generation has a completely different temperament. Now I'm 40, but when I was growing up, when I was about 18, 19, we got upset, but we didn't get that upset that quick. This generation will go from 0 to 10 like that. So I had to say, as an older man, I had to say, well, if somebody in my shop flies off the handle, which they do quite frequently, or get aggressive or say something that could spark a fire, my job is to go over to them and to calm them down. I told one of our other coworkers the other day, I said, listen, I said, I know you're older than the person that offended you, but you cannot have the same temperament they have, especially with you being the older person. You've got to learn how to speak calmly and softly to some of these temperaments, because you don't know where that can take you. Yeah. So.
Right.
So one of the things that you said the other day, you posted, your critics are local, but your stage is national.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was so, because we talk about that a lot, that your critics sometimes are in your home, or sometimes in your family, you know, or sometimes the person that you call your best friend is your critic, and you don't understand that they can criticize you as much as you want, but God has a national stage for you to go.
Absolutely. And I would even add to that, thank you for bringing that up. Most of our critics are those that have become too familiar with us. They have assumed that you're going to be right here the rest of your life, and I know you, and you haven't done this, and in a couple of years you'll be there, and I'm outgrown that. And those are people that are too familiar with you, never understanding the fact that I got greatness on the inside of me. And though you know me at this level, God has already predestined me to go so much further than your local opinions. And so we've got to understand that criticism oftentimes comes from those that are close to us and those that see us often. And the best way to respond to local criticism is to never respond. You can never give a critic anything to go off of. The best way to respond to criticism is just not to respond. Keep doing you, do what God called you to do, and keep working the lane and the avenues and the gift that He placed in.
We ain't half bad. We ain't half bad. Pastor, I promise you. You know, because this lady's a firecracker, and
do I look like a firecracker?
Not really.
Right. This lady's a fire, and a lot of times I'm saying, okay, if you respond, if you attack, then what happens? It's wasted energy. Like, let's not. Okay, like it's wasted energy. Say what you want. I don't really care.
You like to tell on me.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that, you know, I don't, you know what? Okay. Whatever you say is fine. You know, like, okay, we didn't make it or blah, whatever you think it. I don't need to approach you. I don't need to call you. I don't need to talk to you about it. I'm just not giving you any energy. I got a whole bunch of stuff I got to get done. And that, dealing with that is not a priority of mine or hers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've learned early on since being, I would say, and you guys probably already know this from being in a national spotlight, is there are people who will criticize you who don't even know you.
That's
and so now my response then to those who criticize and don't know me is to just continue to watch my life even through social media, but I don't have to respond back to that because literally you will go crazy reading stuff people say about you or how they view you or what they think about you. You can't pay that stuff any attention. Use that as fuel to keep climbing.
Right.
Tackling fuel, like my man Bobby Boucher said in The Water Boy. Use it as tackling. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I do. I mean, it's great to hear this because it just kind of reaffirms, some of the ways that we've been thinking, or some of the ways she's been thinking, some of the ways that I've been thinking that, we had to implement in order for us to continue to push forward, because that happens. I mean, like, why do you care what city I'm in at the time? Why do you care if we are together? Why do you care if anything? Like, why do you care? But everybody is tough. Everybody got an opinion with the thumbs,
Right. And we have a lot of social media bullies. They're really tough behind pressing buttons and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, but face to face, different story. And so you just got to kind of let them be and ignore. Yeah.
What advice would you give, not only as a pastor, but as a married person? What advice would you give to couples on how to maintain a stable relationship?
I would say, I think one key thing is to make sure to all couples to maintain a stable relationship is to make sure you guys have common interests and that you're headed in the same direction. There are a lot of couples that want to remain stable, but they're going different directions. You going left, they're going right, but you're trying to bring it together, but it just ain't meant to happen. And every couple that has gone through breakups and endured stuff like that, everybody wasn't bad for you. It just may be you guys weren't going the same direction, which means it begin to attack your stability. And so I think it's imperative that you guys both know where you're going, your future. I think every couple ought to have, and when I say couple, I'm not even talking about those that have dated for like 2 weeks. I'm talking about those who've been together for a little bit of time that think they actually have a covenant together, or those that are married. I would say to make sure that you guys have some goals planned out, things you want to accomplish within the next 3 to 4 years, short-term goals, long-term goals, places you want to, those type of things help you guys to remain stable, because when you know where you're going and you know where you're headed, that keeps both of you guys focused and both of you guys have your mind on the same goal.
All right. Pastor, let me, I just feel like this is, we just throwing questions at you.
No, good.
But how do you deal with being the top guy in the church? Because I know that tends to be a lot of pressure sometimes. I mean, a lot of people they look. It's a lot of responsibility with all the people. Like, how do you actually navigate and deal with that pressure and the fact that everybody is looking for pastor to help guide them in the right direction?
Well, I think it boils down to me understanding that God is leading me to listen to the instructions of God and what God tells me to do. Not trying to over spiritualize it, but to literally get my directions from God and to remain humble. When you remain humble, you won't necessarily see yourself as always the top guy. You remember the guy who, you remember the person who was asking God for help. You remember the person that was saying, God, just help me get through this. I thank God for pastoring, but beyond the position of pastoring, I'm a child of God. And so I literally, I'm literally at my knees saying, Lord, I need you to lead me. I've always been I would say a humble person. I've never been one to try to have this hierarchy set up where I'm here and everybody's down there, because I've endured that. I know what it's like to be overlooked, to be forgotten. I know what it's like to be considered to be nothing. I know what it's like for you to be as gifted or more gifted than other people, and they're in a higher position than you, and you've been waiting long. I know about all of that stuff. I know what it's like to try to please people to get their attention. But when you realize that God, that we were all created from dirt, and God breathed into us, and that we are literally all just vessels, then that will keep you in a mindset of saying, "Hey, Lord, thank you for just using me." In our church right now, we have a class we're doing every other Tuesday called Rising Leaders. And it's a select group of people that I'm teaching right now that I feel who are called to leadership. And what I'm doing is, like Jesus, duplicating yourself. Hey, you go do this, you do that. And the best way, I think, to even grow an organization, ministry, whatever God puts you over, is to duplicate leadership and to let other people take charge of some things, and without you having to have a hand in everything, and micromanage everything, and trust God for the process.
Okay.
So I have a question. As a now I'm switching gears a little, and
Okay.
I'm going to Dwight Buckner as a father.
Mm-hmm.
So with the climate being the way it is, you're originally from Minnesota. We know about George Floyd. We know about Ahmaud Arbery in Atlanta. And then today, the officer who shot Rashad Brooks, remember
Yeah.
that when we
Reinstated.
was reinstated as a police officer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is it? How do you, not only how do you minister to your sons and daughters, but how do you minister to your parishioners as well?
Well, we're dealing with some major social justice issues. Beyond that, we have to also look at the spiritual attack that is on Black males. I think it's a spiritual attack as well as an injustice. Both go hand in hand. Um, I think for my boys, my main job is, of course, to protect them and pray over them as they grow older and become teenagers. God protect them out there. I pray that nothing happened to them. And it's very unfortunate what's happening in our country, and what's happened to these Black men who literally weren't doing a whole lot and their lives were taken from them. I think there's a voice that's crying out for the wilderness for our people that is saying, hey, we demand justice. We demand that we get the same justice as others. And so my boys, particularly raising two boys, it is imperative as a father now to pray over them, to say, hey, Lord, I pray that they always make the right decisions in these particular situations. Unfortunately, things have happened in our nation to where our young boys are being taken out of here by different skin colors. But I think it is our job as a community of faith and to pray for them and to intercede and say, hey, we pray that this stops. I tell my parishioners, we have to fight. But I think our number one fight is through prayer. After prayer, we need to take action, because faith is an action word. I think we can demonstrate, like we have, peaceful protest and marches across the country. We can do that peacefully. And we're doing everything we can to try to change this narrative that's been an attack against our Black males.
Yeah, it is. I don't really trust anything. I don't trust anything. I mean, from the law, which is really unfortunate,
right,
to a vaccine. I don't trust that either. And I don't. In just kind of talking to my family members, my grandmother and my parents, I'm like, how can I really trust? I'm not saying, everybody is free to do what they want to do, but it's just hard for me to put trust in a vaccine or the powers that be, when I just feel like they have some kind of ulterior motive that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, you have a right to. You have more than a right to have your opinion and not to trust that, especially when things have come up so quickly to be vaccinated. You have a right to feel that way and to not receive that, and you have a right to build time and trust in. Even getting the vaccine, you have a right to say, "Hey, I'm going to do it when I feel comfortable." You have a right. That's absolutely right.
Right.
Absolutely right.
You know, I don't want us, unfortunately, I don't want us to be, which I feel like if you've gotten a shot, I just feel
Mm.
like that, you know, for better, you know, lack of better words, is, you know, almost like a guinea pig, because there isn't enough data in order to know what is going to happen, what are the long-term effects
Yeah.
of this vaccine, unfortunately, because it is really new. The disease is really new.
Yes. Yes.
We don't have that. So I just don't feel like I want to be the first part of that, the first wave or
Right.
the second wave. I need to know, you know,
Right.
what effect this has on us down the line.
Understood.
You know,
Understood. Absolutely. And I think even in situations like that, that's when you continue to hear from God and say, "Lord, let me know when it's time, or when let me know how this thing may play out," and just to remain prayerful in situations like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, I don't, and
Yeah.
I could be really wrong. And I know sometimes people really, really listen
Right.
to what we say. And
Right.
again, I mean, the choice is yours, but I'm just, I don't
Right.
want to be the first line of defense, sort of say,
Right.
like almost like a guinea pig, because that's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is.
Pastor,
And
how do you juggle it all?
when you say all, you mentioned pastoring and all. Well, business. I just I made up in my mind, and especially since I've been married for 11 years to my wonderful wife, Elisa, I made up in my mind that when it comes my time when God wants to take me to heaven, I wanna die empty. I don't want to die with all of this gift, everything I could have done. I don't want to do that. I want to give everything I have out, whether it be books, television, ministry, preaching, teaching, consultation, business. Everything has to get out of me. Now, I do got enough sense to know that we can't juggle everything all the time. And so that's when you have to have timelines and pace yourself. For me, how do I juggle everything? I would say this: I've waited so long in the background, I believe, for opportunities to happen for me.
Mm.
Um, that when opportunities started coming, I think I was already prepared for them because I had been practicing for so long. So
Yeah.
when they came, I said, okay, I'm going to do this like this. I'm going to do that like that because I have been saying that type of stuff for years. And so you got to have a balance. But number one, is family. The number one thing I've learned through the pandemic is the precious gift of time. I've been able to spend time with my family like I've never been before. I cut back my hours at my job. The shop just runs itself. I only go in Thursday through Friday, but the rest of the time I'm doing interviews or other things like that. But I'm spending time with my boys. Last week we were outside in the backyard, and my wife took a picture perfect photo of us outside on the trampoline, just laying with the boys. Memories and times like that you just can't get back. And so um, I just juggle it all with however God tells me to move and to navigate. But I'm not. If I'm ever overwhelmed, I'll know I have to cut something back out of my plate. But right now, I'm like full throttle, ready to go because I've been waiting for so long. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny you said that. It reminds me of a lot of times in the morning we try to listen to positive
Hmm.
audio and things of that nature just to get the day started. And
Hmm.
Les Brown,
Hmm.
one of the motivational speakers I listened to, he said, "Imagine being on your deathbed in your last hours, and all of the ideas and all of the things that you were good at come to you and visit you like, hey man, you left me.
Right.
You just left me over here, man. You ain't come holler at me. You didn't.
Right.
You just left me on the side of the road, and that's tough. But I'm not sure, Pastor, why people are afraid to jump. Like I don't understand that. Like you miss 1,000% of the shots you don't take, and I don't understand why.
Right.
Failure is, of course, nobody wants to fail, but if you fail, at least you get you get the lesson, and you want to fall forward and that sort of thing. But just shoot. I mean, just shoot. And I want to overtalk you, but she knows that we've been working on a car business. I want to have a car dealership. So working on that, and I have fumbled that 3-4 times.
Mm-hmm.
But I just I'm going to get it right. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm going to get it right. I got it, and I just got to keep shooting. So I don't understand. I don't understand why people are scared to jump and scared to take a chance. I'm not sure. Maybe you have some insight on that, but I'm not sure why they scared.
Well, if you fail, you fail forward. When I first opened up my shop 11 years ago, I opened up the shop with $1,200. Okay. That was my first month's rent. That's all I had for the shop. That was it. I continued to work at another shop while trying to open up my own. And so I saved the money while working at another shop and fixed it up slowly. And once I started fixing it up, there was just something that came to me and says, hey, you know what? You here now. Ain't no going back. Just go ahead and jump on out there. What's the worst that can happen but to say, hey, I tried?
Right.
There are people who work jobs every day for people they can't stand. And they have all this gift in them, all of this entrepreneurship, all of this zeal, all of this passion to do their own business. But they lack the courage to leap. They lack the courage to make that jump. And the only thing that's stopping you from making some major moves and going from local to national was just making the jump. No, you're not going to have everything all together. Everything going to be the way you like it. But you sure can say, you know what? At least I tried. I attempted. Because I refuse to have God endowed me with all of these gifts and be content working for somebody else the rest of my life when I myself am an entrepreneur. All of us have the gift and the innate ability on the inside of us to do extraordinary, great exploits. And I think we need to just go ahead and take leaps of faith and make that happen.
I absolutely agree. So normally, I can't believe we've talked for 48 minutes.
Wow.
I know, right? That's great conversation. Great conversation. Normally, because we have couples on as well as, relationship experts. Normally at this point, we'll play some games and I'll ask some questions and make the couples talk. So since we have my new cousin, Pastor Dwight Buckner Jr., who is a relationship expert on an upcoming show. What would you, if you had 2 questions that you could ask Jay and I, what would you ask us?
The first question I would ask both of you is what drew you all together? What drew you all together?
She chased me.
I did not. It's not.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
not
I've used that. Yeah. I hear you. I've used that so much time.
Saw me in that school
Pastor,
with my daughter.
That's really not true.
She saw me in
if
that
he
school.
was to tell you the truth,
she was like, "Man, I got."
If he was to tell you the truth, the show is called Love Business on Lot. So we started off this business. So he came to me to help his career. That's why. That's so that was the driving force. However, it's interesting that you asked that question, because I thought a lot about that question after an interview that we did a couple of weeks ago, and I was having a conversation with my dad, and I said, I just don't even understand how it happened, because it just really happened. It really did. And so my father says, so the backstory to this is this. During the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, we found out something that neither of us knew. We knew that my dad and his grandmother were friends, and we knew that a family friend of his and my dad, were friends, but that's all we knew. So this is what we found out in the beginning of the pandemic from his mom. My dad christened Jay.
Wow.
So a year to the Sunday that I was christened, because I'm a year older, but we're born a day apart. And so I was having a conversation with my dad, maybe about a month ago now. And I said, I don't understand how it all happened. And he said, I prayed for him. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I said, I know you christened him. He said, no. He said, for each of my kids, I prayed for specific needs that I knew that they needed. He said, and I didn't pray for these needs when you all were kids. I prayed for these needs as you were growing up and developing, and I saw the things that you needed. He said, now here's the thing. He said, what makes it special for you guys is I touched him as a baby. He said, so I literally prayed for the man that loves you.
Wow.
So if you ask me that question, that is now my answer.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
phenomenal.
It's a great answer. I can't top that one.
Yeah.
But no, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Right. So I guess the second question I would ask you two then where do you all see yourselves in the next 5 years as a couple?
Together, building generational wealth for us, our kids, our family, and our loved ones. I often have said just years before I met her, that I felt like I was the one that could make sure my loved ones would be good. I was the one that would be able to be the driving force to make sure my parents and my close friends and my close family would be good. And that hasn't changed, that hasn't changed at all. And am I where I want to be? No. We should be? No. But I know that we are going to get there because it's something that I say to her all the time, that we say faith and fear can't live in the same place. You dig what I'm saying? So I see us really, really, really thriving and just making us better, making the people around us better, making the kids better. That's what it's about at this point. It just that's what it's about. I don't, not necessarily big on buying a bunch of name brand stuff and that sort of thing. I want us to be able to make sure everybody is good. And I talk to Cassandra a lot, and she's under a lot of pressure. And I feel like a lot of people depend on her. I depend on her. Her family depends on her. Just everybody depends on her. And I just tell her all the time that she built. You know what I'm saying? Like she really is built. Are we gonna make mistakes? Yes, but she's built. We're built. And whatever didn't happen wasn't meant for it to happen, or however it played out was meant to play out the way it did. So I'm not sure if I answered the question pinpoint, but
you did.
that's my thought.
I don't think I could say anything else. I think
that's my thought.
I think that was
that is my thought. You know.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right.
Anthony, wonderful. Great.
You know, this is the point of the show where we need the guests to do all their shameless plugs and talk about all the stuff they have going on. You know, how they can be followed out. Oh, this is your time to just really brag about yourself. Pat,
Okay.
You have.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can follow me on 3 different platforms. You can follow me on Instagram at Pastor Dwight Buckner Jr. On Instagram, you can also follow me on TikTok at Pastor Dwight Jr. And you could also follow me on Facebook at Dwight Buckner Jr. New book releasing in June. 5 Things Every Man Needs. You can go to PastorDwightBucknerJr.com and order that book now. And pre-sales are open, and you can do that. And that's how you can find me. I'm on Twitter as well, Dwight Buckner Jr. So that's how you can find me. Not hard to find at all.
You got that voice, man. You got that voice, like you just have that voice, that pastor voice. It's about that voice that's just kind of like a pastor's voice. I don't know. I'm not talking crazy. I'm telling you, you sound like it. If you weren't a pastor, I'd be like, you ever think about, being in the ministry? Because you got that voice. You got that delivery. You know what I mean? You got that delivery. No,
God be the glory.
Thank you so much for, spending Wednesday with us. Greatly appreciate that. Amazing guest, amazing, conversation, amazing food. Thank you so much.
I'm honored to have been on your show as a guest. Thank you guys for kindly inviting me on your show, and I wish your show much success in all of your future endeavors. Thank you guys. You're a wonderful couple. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's 11 Business on Lock podcast.
But Friday, you're not gonna talk about Friday?
No, I was getting it. Let me bring it all together.
Okay.
11 Business on Lock podcast, which we do every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We have Pastor Dwight Buckner Jr. Thank you so much as our honored guest. We greatly appreciate you. This Friday, we have several things going on, and I will let Ms. Vaughn take the floor at this point and talk about what we have on Friday.
So I don't know how you'll be able to control me on Friday. Because first, we're launching on IG for those who follow us on IG, on Jay's IG, we're launching Let's Talk About It. And our first guest is Play, aka Christopher Martin. Well, I guess,
Play from Kid.
Yeah, from Kid and Play. I don't know how you're going to be able to handle me because I thought he was my boyfriend.
Okay. Listen, and I want you to tell him that too.
I'm gonna tell him. Pastor, I don't know. I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him.
You gotta tell him.
Right. Following, once we hop off of that, 8:00, of course, we're back here for Love Business on Lock. Meet the Braswells, the amazing couple, media personality and life coach. So Eric and P will be on here to talk to us. And then next week, next Wednesday, we have family. Nope from Drew Hill.
Right, Nokio from Drew Hill. So
from the group Drew
Hill. We're gonna talk to our family. I just want to tell you, everybody, please keep all negative folks out your circle. You pick up the you pick up the trends and the things that they do. So you want to make sure that you keep your circle right, positive. Keep all negative people out your circle. And with that being said, Loving Business on Lock podcast. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you so much. I was getting Thank you so much for being a part. I do need you to hold on. We're going to go out, and then we're going to talk to you after we go out.
Okay. Thank you.
See you guys on Friday. Thank you.